The WNBA is teetering on the edge of self-destruction, with its brightest star, Caitlin Clark, reportedly nearing her breaking point as whispers of her exit grow louder by the day. This isn't just rookie hazing, it's a volatile mix of unchecked on-court targeting, a league seething with envy toward the very player who revived its relevance, and a media machine quick to vilify the victim. Now, a bombshell rumor is gaining traction that Clark is plotting a bold departure, a seismic move that could lay bare the WNBA's most toxic truths and leave the league scrambling to recover the spotlight she alone brought back.
WNBA record. This is her second season. And you put the numbers together, that's like 10 seasons. That girl did it in 10 seasons. That means she had won a season. Caitlin Clark is... when Caitlin Clark gets to 10 seasons, she's going to have 100 of these. And y'all can't get a girl her roses. Now, I don't like the fact that she be getting woke because she don't want all these lesbians to be mad at it. At the end of the day, is the woman putting in the work she's putting in the work.
To understand why Caitlin Clark might even consider leaving, you have to first grasp the jaw-dropping scale of her impact, because the numbers don't just speak, they roar. Before her debut, the WNBA was a niche product clawing for relevance. After she stepped onto the court, it transformed into must-see TV. Clark didn't just boost ratings, she sparked a full-blown economic surge, turning half-empty arenas into sold-out spectacles, not just in Indiana, but everywhere she played. Cities scrambled to move games into NBA-sized venues just to handle the crush of fans desperate to witness her in action, making it clear she didn't join the league, she redefined it.
This is all going according to plan. This is ideal. Caitlin Clark is holding up her end by being awesome and by being a trash-talking jerk on the court. Love it. Her teammates are holding up their end by having her back. The other players in the league are holding up their end by not liking her. Perfect. Couldn't have written a better script. Caitlin is talking trash to this girl's hard fouling her. Her teammate Sophie Cunningham, who got a black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 6, she's like, I will F you guys up. All of it's great, and Caitlin's a killer. 10 out of 10.
Her jersey became the top selling across all sports the moment it dropped, while WNBA viewership on major networks exploded by triple digits. But the most jaw-dropping stat came when Caitlin Clark was briefly sidelined with an injury. League viewership nosedived by a staggering 55%. Let that sink in. One player sits, and more than half the national audience disappears overnight. That's not just star power, that's market domination. Clark wasn't merely part of the league, she was the league, single-handedly driving its economy, filling its arenas, and effectively funding the very players and franchises that now seem to resent her for it.
Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a completely different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
Despite the millions she brought and the spotlight she reignited, Caitlin Clark's welcome to the WNBA felt less like a red carpet and more like a calculated ambush in a back alley. From day one, it was clear that opposing teams had adopted a singular defensive game plan, test how much punishment she could take before breaking. This wasn't gritty basketball, it was a coordinated barrage of hip checks, blindside shoves, and reckless closeouts that flirted with outright assault. The crescendo came with Marina Mabrey's infamous shove, a full-body hit that launched Clark across the court in a move completely unrelated to the play, crystallizing the hostility aimed at the league's biggest draw.
I will say this, when Caitlin Clark was out, they lost 55% of their viewership. So, basically, Caitlin Clark is paying all their salaries.
Pretty much.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can hate her as much as you want, but she's brought in millions of dollars. So you should be kissing her
And that kind of defeated the purpose of Angel Reese's argument of she's like, hey, it's not just Caitlin Clark that is bringing all the viewership to the WNBA. It's like, well, it definitely is. It's like it kind of proved that with the viewership rating being down that she significantly increases viewership.
They try so hard to compare her to Caitlin Clark. They try so hard.
It was the kind of hit you'd expect in a hockey rink, not on a basketball court. Yet, through all the blows, what enraged Caitlin Clark's critics the most wasn't how hard she was hit, but how calmly she got back up. No retaliation, no complaints, just a quiet resolve as she dusted herself off and returned to play. Her unshakable composure, instead of being praised as professionalism, was twisted into perceived arrogance, only intensifying the animosity and making the next hit even more vicious. The message was unmistakable. You will not outshine us, and if talent can't stop you, brute force will.
The fever and sun hold a brawl and a basketball game breaks out. This was something. Caitlin Clark, without question, gets raked across the face. I think she gets poked in the eye, but it's difficult to tell.
If you're the Indiana Fever, you cannot stand by and let that happen. They need to make it clear to the officials. If you're going to let this happen, then we're going to stand up for our player and make a mess of the game, and you're going to have a big mess on your hands. So you need to stand up for this. You need to do something about this.
You've just learned with definitive data and beyond question that Caitlin Clark controls more than half the audience for the entire WNBA.
But the punishment Caitlin Clark endured on the court was only half the story, because the people responsible for enforcing the rules were eerily absent. As she was hacked, shoved, and slammed like a human piñata, referees stood by as if their whistles had vanished, downgrading blatant cheap shots to common fouls or ignoring them entirely. The message to the league couldn't have been clearer. It's open season. Even more damning was the silence from the WNBA front office, the very institution that should have protected its golden goose. They reacted faster to dress code violations than to the relentless, targeted physical campaign against the face of their brand.
A lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion, but not like this. This news is alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA.
The league's baffling inaction sparked a digital uprising. The Protect Caitlin Clark movement, a fan-led crusade where viewers turned into slow-motion sleuths, dissecting every collision, circling illegal screens, and flooding social media with pleas for a flagrant foul call that never came. It pulled back the curtain on a glaring hypocrisy within the WNBA. They craved her marketing clout, her sold-out arenas, and her record-breaking TV ratings, yet refused to grant her even the basic protections given to any other player. This wasn't just neglect. It felt calculated, a silent green light for the hazing to continue unchecked.
I am sick and tired of the way they are treating my girl, Caitlin Clark. I am here to propose a solution. I think they need an enforcer. You know, someone who comes off the bench to kind of lay the smackdown on an opposing team member. I want to get the word out to the Indiana Fever that I am available. I'm ready to identify as whatever I need to in order to get the job. They need someone like me. Why? Because I'm not afraid of any 6 foot tall lesbian. I work out. Now, I have a couple of real good go-to moves in my bag of tricks.
And just when you thought the chaos couldn't get any more absurd, the media entered the fray, not to condemn the violence, but to blame its target. Instead of spotlighting the dangerous hits, a twisted narrative took hold. The attacks were Caitlin Clark's fault. She was too confident. She talked trash. She had it coming. It was a jaw-dropping reversal that defied basic logic, especially in the world of professional sports, a world fueled by swagger, mind games, and competitive fire. Michael Jordan made trash talk an art form. Larry Bird shattered psyches before tip-off. But when Caitlin did the same, it wasn't seen as greatness. It was used as justification for assault. That's not analysis. That's scapegoating. And if this is how the WNBA treats its biggest star, then maybe the loudest rumor of all, that she's ready to walk, isn't just believable, it's inevitable.
Thank you. I can't wait to give this to my girlfriend.
You don't have a girlfriend, Mike.
If you thought Caitlin Clark was simply a deadly sharpshooter with an intense competitive spirit, think again. She's also a comedy mastermind. From roasting her teammates to delivering perfect one-liners and pulling off surprising antics, Clark knows how to keep the laughs coming. Now, let's dive into 10 of Caitlin Clark's funniest moments that had everyone in stitches. Kicking things off is the time Caitlin Clark made an appearance on SNL's Weekend Update. What made this moment so funny and entertaining was that Caitlin came fully prepared with her own jokes written down. It was a hilarious scene, giving the audience and fans a chance to see her comedic side. Michael also delivered an absolutely perfect introduction to Clark, adding to the laughter.
The University of Iowa announced that basketball star Caitlin Clark will have her jersey retired and replaced with an apron. Well, the WNBA draft is this Monday, and Iowa star Caitlin Clark is expected to be the #1 pick. Here to comment is Caitlin Clark.
The audience absolutely loved having Clark in the spotlight, and things got even funnier when Caitlin Clark fired back at Michael's earlier joke by asking him to read some of the jokes she had written herself. The exchange took the humor to a whole new level.
This year, Caitlin Clark broke the record for three-pointers in a single season, and I have three-pointers for Michael Che. 1B, 2 funnier, 3...
To wrap up the segment, Caitlin Clark took it up a notch by handing Michael an apron, a nod to his earlier joke when he introduced her to the show. The timing was perfect, and she even took the opportunity to roast Michael a little more, adding another layer of comedy to the moment.
Since you're such a big fan, I brought you a souvenir. It's an apron signed by me.
Thank you. I can't wait to give this to my girlfriend.
You don't have a girlfriend, Mike.
Caitlin Clark, everybody!
At this point, the crowd was absolutely roaring with laughter. The whole exchange only added to the humor, showcasing just how funny and entertaining Caitlin Clark really is. Moving on to number 2, aside from those times when she came prepared with jokes, Clark has had plenty of moments where she cracked a joke off the cuff, leaving everyone in stitches with her spontaneous humor. Like that one time, she tried to make a wordplay joke about cheetahs.
Caitlin, pits of your soul, you're a comedian. Do you have any updated jokes for me?
Why don't they take tests at the zoo? There's too many cheetahs.
What made it even funnier was the way the reporter just stood there, totally dazed and amused, while Clark couldn't help but laugh and smile, fully aware of how mischievous and hilarious the moment was. Now, moving on to number 3, Caitlin Clark doesn't keep her jokes limited to interviews. She's also a pro at the friendly roast. During one interview, the WNBA star was on the court when the reporter decided to test their own shooting skills.
I think you have to go now. Come on. Let's see if you can get it there.
Two more. You know what? I have no legs, so I can come in here.
No, I feel confident. Let's see.
I'm wearing this jacket.
Oh.
Ugh,
That's
terrible.
not bad. Get it there.
Oh my God.
You gotta jump.
Even though Clark tried to be supportive, she just couldn't help but laugh and throw in a few playful jabs. And when the reporter tried to blame his terrible shooting on his dress clothes and the tight rims, Caitlin wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily.
Tight rims, I'm telling you.
No, I think that might just be you, honestly.
This moment just made Clark even more lovable thanks to her hilarious personality. Coming in at number 4, another unforgettable moment that had everyone buzzing about Caitlin Clark's mischievous side was her visit to a goat petting zoo with her teammates. Watching Clark feed the baby goats quickly turned into pure entertainment, and naturally, she turned the whole thing into her own personal comedy show.
All right, relax. Everybody don't fight over me. me, okay? Wait, I don't remember who I bet.
Fans love seeing Caitlyn and her teammates bond over something other than basketball. But the real comedy came from the fans themselves, who couldn't resist making the perfect joke: the goat feeding goats. Now, halfway through at number 5, Caitlyn Clark's easygoing and cheerful nature really shines when she's around her teammates, both on and off the court. Her bond with Lexi Hull is especially fun to watch. One particularly funny moment happened during an interview when Lexi was answering a question, only for Caitlyn to interrupt with a burst of childish laughter at something Lexi said.
What was your intent there to try to make an impact as well as you did tonight?
Thank you. I would say that's kind of my role.
Respectful.
Caitlyn Clark's reaction to Lexi Hull's innocent comment had the entire room in stitches.
And take advantage of that. Caitlyn? Yeah. We're done. Oh,
Coming in at number 6, Caitlyn Clark and Lexi Hull's dynamic duo wasn't just reserved for the court. The two had fans cracking up once again when they pulled up to a Swig drive-thru to grab some fruit and soda drinks.
Playing with vanilla cream instead of coconut cream. Can I have the beach vape too, please?
What made this even more interesting was that Clark was immediately recognized. But when the friendly lady asked if she was really Caitlyn Clark, Clark responded with a mischievous grin.
You're Caitlyn Clark, right? Maybe.
After being recognized, the owner gifted them golden mugs, guaranteeing them free refills whenever they came back.
Golden mug I want to give you. Golden mug means every time you come through Swig, you just get a free refill.
He said he was going to give us golden mugs. So we'll be back. Yeah.
At number 7, one thing that stands out about Caitlyn Clark is how her teammates not only recognize her playful side, but also encourage it. Of course, sometimes they have to step in to keep her focused, like that time during warm-ups when Katie Lou got the best of Clark, locking in a submission and making her tap out. The whole team couldn't stop laughing. This was a hilarious moment that perfectly captured the fun and bond the team shares. Caitlyn later opened up about it, admitting that she can be a bit of a child sometimes with how playful she gets.
She's just she's a kid sometimes, and keeps everything light, but sometimes you just gotta put her in place.
Coming in at number 8, Caitlyn Clark's humor isn't confined to basketball. She can turn anything into a comedy show. In one unforgettable moment, Lexi Hull caught Clark delivering a full play-by-play commentary on a Philly baseball game.
And that ball's hit to the shortstop. Rojas throws it over to first base, and that's not going to be enough.
The video quickly went viral, perfectly capturing how effortlessly hilarious and entertaining Clark can be. Watching her switch from WNBA star to baseball commentator had fans in stitches.
The Phillies leading 1-0. We'll be back in a minute with a 30-second break.
It was such a viral moment that it even landed Clark an invitation.
The Phillies have taken her up on her offer to broadcast a game.
At number 9, Caitlyn Clark's humor isn't just for her teammates. It extends to her family and friends as well. A perfect example of this is her hilarious moments with her boyfriend, Connor. The two have shared some truly funny interactions.
I just want to sleep for like 3 weeks straight after the season's over.
You want to sleep for 3 weeks straight during the season too?
That too. I love sleeping. It's awesome.
The thing about Caitlyn is how she'll enthusiastically praise and appreciate Connor for being supportive. But she doesn't hesitate to throw friendly jabs at him, even during interviews. Like that time she casually mentioned that in a shooting competition, she outshoots him every time.
Having some shooting competitions, it gets a little heated. I definitely outshoot him way more than he outshoots me, but he tries to think otherwise.
And finally, at number 10, Caitlyn Clark's playful and competitive spirit isn't just for her teammates and friends. It shines through in her family moments too. Her close bond with her family is filled with hilarious exchanges, but one of the best was when she got fouled and started complaining about it, only for her dad to shut it down with a classic, stop complaining response.
Move, and if they're open, she will find them. Martin commits the foul.
And that wraps up our list of Caitlin Clark's funniest moments. From her sharp wit to her playful antics, she never fails to entertain, both on and off the court. Whether she's cracking jokes, roasting teammates, or turning everyday moments into comedy gold, Caitlin proves she's not just a basketball star, she's a natural entertainer. If you enjoyed this compilation, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fun and unforgettable Caitlin Clark moments.
The veteran point guard is coming in this week. Without her in free agency, this is a perfect opportunity now for Bailey Chamberlain as young point guard.
The 2025 WNBA draft was meant to be a night of celebration, a spotlight moment where rising stars took their place in the league's future. But instead of a smooth coronation of new talent, the night veered into chaos. Hailey Van Lith, a fiery and confident guard fresh off a strong college run, didn't just show up. She made an entrance and then took a stunning swipe at Caitlin Clark, the reigning face of women's basketball. What followed wasn't just drama, it was a full-blown spectacle that stunned fans, analysts, and players alike. And the wildest part, it wasn't just a bold statement, it was a careering misstep that humbled Van Lith before she ever stepped on a WNBA court. Imagine being at the Shed in Hudson Yards, New York City, buzzing with excitement. The 2025 draft was a big deal. Riding the wave of a record-breaking year for the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever superstar, had transformed the league in her rookie season, drawing massive crowds, spiking TV ratings, and landing lucrative broadcast deals. Her long-range shooting and playmaking had fans comparing her to NBA legends, and her impact was undeniable. The draft, featuring names like Paige Buchers and Van Lith, was poised to build on that momentum. But what happens next will leave you speechless. Van Lith, drafted 11th overall by the Chicago Sky, had a story that resonated with many. She'd fought her way through a nomadic college career, playing at Louisville, LSU, and TCU. Known for her grit and relentless energy, she was a player who thrived on proving doubters wrong. Her reunion with Angel Reese, her former LSU teammate, was a draft highlight, promising a dynamic duo in Chicago. But Van Lith wasn't content to just soak in the moment. She had a score to settle, rooted in a college rivalry with Clark that dated back to 2023. In that NCAA Elite Eight game, Clark torched LSU for 41 points, leaving Van Lith and her teammates in the dust. The image of Clark's "you can't see me" gesture became a viral taunt, and Van Lith hadn't forgotten. And this is where things go completely off the rails. During a pre-draft segment, Van Lith was thrown a playful question: start, bench, or cut 3 WNBA stars, Diana Taurasi, Sabrina Ionescu, and Caitlin Clark. It was meant to be a fun icebreaker, but Van Lith saw an opportunity. With cameras rolling and the crowd hanging on her every word, she chose to start Taurasi, bench Ionescu, and cut Clark. The arena fell silent for a split second before erupting in murmurs. Social media lit up like a wildfire. Fans couldn't believe she'd gone after the league's biggest star so brazenly. But here's what they're not telling you: Van Lith wasn't done yet. In her post-selection interview, Van Lith doubled down. She didn't mention Clark by name, but her words cut deep. She talked about grinding her way to the pros, implying some players had been handed fame on a silver platter. The jab was clear. Clark, the media darling, was her target. It was a bold move, one that screamed confidence but reeked of miscalculation. Van Lith thought she was crafting an underdog narrative, but she just poked the bear, and you'll never guess how it ends. The backlash was immediate and relentless, with fans tearing into Van Lith's comments as bitter and unnecessary. They flooded the internet with stats comparing her college career to Clark's. Van Lith's numbers were solid, nearly 20 points a game at Louisville, 18 at TCU. But Clark's were otherworldly. She'd rewritten the NCAA record books, becoming the all-time leading scorer while leading Iowa to back-to-back national championship games. Her stat lines looked like they belonged in a video game, and her impact went beyond the court, selling out arenas and boosting the WNBA's profile. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, the WNBA community piled on. ESPN analysts were floored. One called Van Lith's comments envy dressed up as confidence. Another pointed out the irony. Clark's rise had made the 2025 draft the second most watched in WNBA history. With 1.25 million viewers tuning in, by shading the player who'd put the league on the map, Van Lith wasn't just starting a rivalry, she was alienating the very fans and players she'd need to succeed. Even current WNBA stars took notice, with some quietly unfollowing Van Lith on social media. The message was clear: you don't come for the queen unless you're ready to back it up. But what happens next is truly insane. The real gut punch came from Clark herself, though not in the way you'd expect. While Van Lith's words were dissected online, Clark stayed silent. No tweets, no interviews, no petty clapbacks. Instead, she let a single moment speak for her. A cold, knowing smile caught on camera as Van Lith threw her shade. It was the same look Clark had worn in college when opponents tried to get under her skin, right before she buried them with a deep three. Days later, she was spotted at a youth basketball camp, coaching kids and signing jerseys for hours. The contrast was stark. Van Lith was chasing clout while Clark was building a legacy. And here's where everything changes. Just weeks after the draft, Clark made headlines by stepping onto the court during a Pacers game to toss out merch, stealing the spotlight in the process. No other rookie had ever drawn this much attention. In a preseason matchup, she reminded everyone why she's the league's biggest attraction, dropping 28 points, handing out 8 assists, and pulling down 5 rebounds. She hit deep threes and ran the offense like a veteran. Meanwhile, the cameras caught Van Lith still in warm-ups, waiting for her moment. Social media erupted, flooding timelines with memes of Clark cooking while Van Lith looked on from the bench. The numbers told the story. Clark's rookie season was historic, with records for most points by a rookie guard, most assists by a rookie, and the first ever rookie triple-doubles in WNBA history. She was named Player of the Month and Rookie of the Month in the same month, a first in league history. Van Lith, meanwhile, had yet to log a single professional minute. Stick around because this next part is huge. The WNBA community didn't hold back. An anonymous player reportedly said, "You earn your place with buckets, not by running your mouth on draft night." A veteran praised Clark for bringing more money and exposure to the league, urging Van Lith to show some respect. League executives knew Clark's value better than anyone. Ticket sales had skyrocketed over 300% since her draft declaration, and her merchandise accounted for nearly half of all league sales. New broadcast deals with ESPN and Amazon, quadrupling primetime exposure, were tied directly to her star power. Clark wasn't just a player, she was a one-woman economic engine. And if you think that's bad, just wait, because Van Lith's troubles were just beginning. Behind the scenes, the fallout was brutal. Reports emerged that multiple teams had passed on drafting Van Lith, wary of her attitude and potential to disrupt locker room chemistry. One scout, speaking anonymously, said she was talented but no Caitlin, and teams didn't want drama over production. The Chicago Sky took a chance on her, banking on her connection with Reese to smooth things over. But even that came with pressure. Reese had navigated her own rivalry with Clark, learning to share the spotlight. Van Lith, it seemed, was still chasing it. And the final twist? It's something no one expected. The WNBA season opener pits the Sky against Clark's Fever, and it's already the most anticipated game of the year. For Van Lith, it's a chance to prove her words weren't empty. But the pressure is crushing. Every missed shot, every turnover, every moment she's on the court will be compared to Clark's performance. Fans are already hyping Clark to drop another 40, with memes predicting a humbling for Van Lith. Her draft night comments didn't just start a feud, they set an impossible standard for a rookie yet to prove herself. And by the end of this, you'll understand why this is so important. Clark, meanwhile, remains unfazed. She's not here for the drama or the headlines. She's in the gym, as shown by her going 50 for 54 from 3 on her birthday. Her focus is on championships, not sound bites. Her rookie season set records, fastest to 100 3-pointers, most assists in an all-star game, and countless franchise milestones. She's not just a star, she's the league's future. With teams reshaping marketing plans and cities bracing for sold-out games when she's in town, Van Lith's jab may have earned her a few retweets, but Clark is earning respect. One jumper, one pass, one packed arena at a time. For Van Lith, the road ahead is steep. She didn't just pick a fight, she picked the wrong one. The WNBA isn't college, where rivalries can thrive on trash talk alone. This is a league finally gaining traction thanks to Clark's hard work and humility. By trying to tear her down, Van Lith misread the room and painted herself as the antagonist before earning the right to be a rival. Every game she plays will be a referendum on her draft night words, with fans and analysts ready to pounce on every misstep. You'll want to see this through to the end. Trust me. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to respond with words. Her game speaks louder than any interview could. Van Lith, on the other hand, has a lot to prove. When the Sky and Fever face off in May, the scoreboard will tell the real story. And that's where everything clicked into place. Because in the WNBA, talk is cheap, and Clark is already cashing checks with every bucket. Is the Van Lith Angel Reese matchup a threat to Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever? Let us know what you think in the comments section below.
We get to sit down with another legend today.
GOAT status.
I just want to read some accolades real quick before I introduce this person. Two-time NCAA champ at SC. Won the first 4 WNBA championships.
How many?
4 straight.
Okay, make sure.
Was the finals MVP of all 4 chips.
How many?
4.
Okay.
Yeah. 8-time overseas scoring champ. I mean, and that's just some of the accolades. Welcome to the show, the one and only, Miss Cynthia Cooper.
Cynthia Cooper didn't just hand Caitlin Clark her flowers. She rolled out a full-on red carpet, unleashed confetti cannons, and delivered a standing ovation broadcast live on national TV. It was graceful, heartfelt, and as rare as a WNBA highlight without controversy. Now, flip the script to Cheryl Swoops, who showed up armed with a bouquet of passive-aggressive jabs and shade so thick it could blot out the sun. This wasn't your typical sports talk. It felt more like a high school reunion gone sideways, except the cafeteria was a press conference and the grudges stretched back decades. Cooper's tribute? Pure elegance? Swoops? She just submitted her resume for the pettiest teammate of the century.
One word to describe Caitlin Clark.
Amazing.
Yes.
A beast. She is the truth.
Enter Cynthia Cooper, the Hall of Famer, the trailblazer, the unstoppable bucket who single-handedly pulled the early WNBA into the spotlight with nothing but pure grit and heart. When it came to the Caitlin Clark conversation, Cooper didn't just show up, she soared. Her praise was sharp, meaningful, and genuine, not some hollow, she's decent line. It was a true legend tipping her hat to the next rising star. Meanwhile, Swoops sounds like she's swallowed a foghorn, blasting waves of negativity every time Caitlin's name lights up the headlines. If jealousy were a stat, Cheryl would be running the league with no competition.
It's amazing how different somebody like Cynthia Cooper is to Cheryl Swoops. They played together, but the difference in the hateration, the pettiness, the jealousy that comes from one former player versus the other former player is stark.
Let's break down this drama, shall we? Cynthia Cooper watched Caitlin pull off those jaw-dropping moves, launching threes from the logo, dishing out assists that defy physics, and recognized pure brilliance when she saw it. She called it like a true legend. This girl's got it. Because honestly, she absolutely does. Clark's got the vision of Sue Bird, the range of Steph Curry, and the calm confidence of a veteran who's faced it all, and still smiles. Cooper saw all that and declared, "This is exactly what the WNBA needs." Meanwhile, Swoops is off somewhere furiously scribbling conspiracy theories on a whiteboard like she's trying out for the worst Netflix docuseries ever, Caitlin and the Case of the Inflated Stats.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me,
if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
Let's not forget Swoops' laughable attempt to rewrite the record books. She claimed Clark wasn't the true NCAA scoring leader because of, brace yourself, an extra year Clark never even used. Yep, a completely fictional 5th year, folks. Meanwhile, Angel Reese could drop a stat line straight out of a blooper reel, 2 for 11 shooting, 6 turnovers, and a foul on every limb, and Swoops would still gush like she just uncovered the next Diana Taurasi. It's less analysis and more fangirl fantasy, but only when Caitlin's not involved. If Clark drops 40 points, it's witchcraft. If Reese stumbles into a double-double, suddenly it's greatness redefined.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
And Cheryl's takes aren't just bad. They're deafening, obnoxiously loud. While the rest of us marvel at Clark's on-court wizardry, Swoops is busy delivering keynote speeches at the anti-Caitlin Summit, treating recognition of true excellence like a betrayal to her era. It's as if she believes Caitlin's rise is a personal attack, instead of what it really is, a win for the game.
3 WNBA MVPs in your career. Would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Cheryl Swoops is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
Meanwhile, Angel Reese, Cheryl's so-called golden girl, just got bumped off her usual spot on the court. Why? Because the Chicago Sky actually want to score some points this season. Thanks, but no thanks. In college, Reese thrived on putbacks and rebounds. Now that she's in a league where you actually have to make layups and rotate on defense, let's just say the Sky's stat sheets aren't exactly breaking the internet. And speaking of breaking records, let's talk cold, hard numbers. Caitlin Clark isn't just selling out arenas, she's outdrawing NBA teams in some cities. Reese, meanwhile, could throw in courtside seats with a surprise Drake cameo and still leave rows empty. Remember when she claimed she brought the eyeballs? Yeah, funny, because no one seems to be watching anymore.
And I mean, she's the truth, and she was a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Knock down the 3-pointer, get to the rim. She can get to the free throw line. She's crafty.
Yeah, very crafty.
Crafty. So sometimes she look like she's coming off for a 3-point shot and she backdoors you for a layup. She gets her teammates involved. She can pass. She can shoot. Man, she is the complete basketball player.
And while Clark casually rewrites record books and handles interviews like a seasoned media pro, she's still treated like she's gate-crashing the league. It's wild. People act like her success is some kind of glitch in the Matrix. Meanwhile, the old guard clings to their fading influence like it's the last Gatorade sponsorship on Earth. Since when did celebrating a rising star become such a controversial act?
So we all know these WNBA veterans, for the most part, has not been very welcoming besides your Sue Birds, your Cheryl Millers, and a few others. But when it comes to Cheryl Swoops and them, oh, there's some serial haters, bruh. Now, Lisa Leslie, she been high, but she criticized the time too. But with all that being said, Cynthia Cooper made it her business to big up Caitlin Clark.
So here comes Cynthia Cooper, injecting a much-needed dose of sanity into the chaos. She basically said, "Can we please stop acting like recognizing Caitlin's greatness is a crime?" Just like that, she reminded everyone what a true legend looks like. Legends don't feel threatened. They get inspired. They pass the torch without torching the next generation. And while Cooper's out here raising the bar for class, Swoops is still stuck sulking like someone just snatched her last championship ring.
You know what I want to see? You know, so many people talked about Sabrina and Steph, you know, with that 3-point shooting contest. You know what I want to see in the WNBA All-Star game? I want to see Sabrina Ionescu shoot against Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see that three-point shooting contest.
Yeah, facts. That's dope. Hopefully it'll be there. It's in Indiana this year, right?
It's the same moment, seen through two very different lenses. Cooper looks at Caitlin and thinks, wow, pure brilliance. Meanwhile, Swoops squints, mutters something about cubic zirconia, and refuses to give a single clap. Girl, please. Caitlin Clark isn't just playing well, she's transforming the league. She's landing deals, filling arenas, and getting kids to rock Fever jerseys like they're the new school uniform. If that's not changing the game, then what is? And still, every time her name comes up, it feels like we're stuck in a courtroom drama. Objection, Your Honor. She's just too good.
Woo! Man, I gotta tell you, that was close. I thought we were gonna get through a season without hearing anything stupid out of Cheryl Swoop's mouth, and anything that sounds rather interesting, something that you might choose to give some side eye to.
The Indiana Fever just dropped a league-shaking bombshell that sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA. In one bold stroke, they released not one, but two major rookie names from the team, igniting a frenzy across basketball circles. And as the dust barely began to settle, Cheryl Swoops, longtime president of the anti-Caitlin Clark Coalition, re-emerged with the energy of a comeback tour. But this time around, her sights weren't locked solely on Caitlin Clark. She was coming for the entire Fever franchise.
And you have a black player that just got cut, and Cheryl Swoops is not happy about that.
What began as a routine roster adjustment spiraled into full-fledged league drama, packed with tension and headlines that practically wrote themselves. Just when we assumed Swoops had vanished into the void, she somehow pops back up out of nowhere. What's she saying now? And how is the Indiana Fever handling all this chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Call me nuts, but unfortunately for the old WNBA fandom and media, in her case, media and old players, unfortunately, in some cases, you do feel like there is something else lurking behind said opinions that may not be basketball related. Let's put it that way.
Let's kick things off with the roster cuts that turned heads. The Indiana Fever just made one of the boldest preseason decisions we've seen in years. Bree Hall, yes, that Bree Hall, the dynamic guard and two-time national champ from South Carolina, was cut before she could even hit the floor for real minutes. That's right, not 1 second of action in the opener against Washington. Barely any time against Brazil. And just like that, she was out. And if that felt like a shock to the system, brace yourself. Because the Fever weren't finished.
Bree Hall is now gone, as you know. And today it was announced that Yvonne Ejim has been waived by the Fever as well. Sophie Cunningham talked about that yesterday, saying you can latch on to another team, another place.
Just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out at the W forever.
Roughly 24 hours later, the team dropped another bomb. Yvonne Ejim, Gonzaga's scoring powerhouse and a player with enough heart to light up the entire Pacific Northwest, was cut too. Two rookies, each with standout college careers and genuine upside, were shown the door before they even had a chance to settle in. Barely a warm-up, and they were out. Just like that. This is pro sports at its most ruthless. It's not always about talent. It's timing, system fit, and sometimes just cold roster math, where dreams collide with the business side of basketball.
So the Indiana Fever, as expected, have waived Yvonne Ejim. She's just not at the level that the Indiana Fever are hoping her to be at.
The Fever announced it directly. Thank you, Yvonne Ejim, who was the all-time leading scorer in Gonzaga history.
Naturally, the big question is, why these two? To grasp the sting, you have to look at the Fever's salary cap situation. Thanks to Katie Lou Sampson's oversized contract, which the Fever had to buy out in order to sign key vets, the team could only carry 11 players on the roster. Veterans like Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, Bree Turner, Sophie Cunningham, Damaris Dantas, and recently re-signed Kelsey Mitchell all have guaranteed contracts for at least a year. Cutting them wouldn't free up space. It would just leave their salaries on the books. The only contracts the team could actually shed were those of rookies still on their original deals, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Lexi Hull. And no team in their right mind would cut that trio, which means 10 of 11 spots were already locked in.
Man, it's hard, right? We all reached out. I think that they brought really good people in, great people into training camp this year. But just because you didn't make this squad, this is probably one of the harder rosters to make in the W this year. It doesn't mean you're out of the W, and you just got to keep ready, keep playing, keep grinding it out. And if it's hard to make the league. I know Sid and I, we were second rounders. We stuck. Her experience is a little bit different than mine, but just because you didn't make a roster doesn't mean you're out of the W forever.
In truth, all three rookies, including Michaela Timpson, who's been flashing real potential in training camp and preseason, were battling for just one available spot. And odds are, that spot is going to Timpson. The Fever need young forwards in the mix, and her speed, floor running ability, and elite defense make her a perfect fit. Fans are already calling her the steal of the draft. Snagged at 19th overall, when many had her projected comfortably inside the top 10.
Michaela Timpson is obviously at a certain level. She's a rim runner. She just obviously has a higher ceiling than Ejim at the moment, and this is maybe a hot take.
For fans of Hall and Ejim, this one stings on a deeper level. It wasn't just about stats or performance, it was the unforgiving collision of salary constraints, tight roster limits, and the relentless push toward a championship window. These cuts hit hard because they weren't just about players. They were about potential, about belief. And in a blink, two promising dreams were put on pause.
After all, we saw Cheryl Swoops in rare form, hating on Caitlin Clark all last year. Well, maybe she has figured out, hating on Clark, I've been told that's not really a great idea. Yada, yada, yada. So what other white girls can I tune up from the Indiana Fever?
Unsurprisingly, the backlash came fast, and front and center with a megaphone was none other than Cheryl Swoops. The second news broke about Bree Hall's cut, Swoops lit up like she'd been waiting all offseason for a moment just like this. Her return wasn't subtle. It was a full-blown verbal takedown.
Okay, example. The Washington Mystics Indiana Fever game. Because I know on social media, people were like, well, why aren't the starters in for the Mystics? They could win this game. And I was there, right? Because preseason is about, yes, you're going to play your starters. You're going to play your players. Typically, they don't even play that many minutes, right? Because you have so many players on your roster that you got to make roster cuts. So you're still trying to figure out who can fit what we're doing.
On the latest episode of the Women's Hoop Show, Swoops didn't just voice concern. She unleashed a one-woman verbal offensive, zeroing in on head coach Stephanie White. According to Swoops, White didn't just mismanage the rotations, she outright sabotaged them. Her question was sharp. Why was Bree Hall glued to the bench while players with less upside were getting the spotlight?
But I did have a question, though, with Indiana, right? Because even though the starters weren't in, like Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull they've been in the league for a while. You actually had players who, like Bree Hall, why wasn't she in that game per se? If you're still trying to figure out who's going to make the team, who you're going to cut. So I was a little confused with what Steph was doing.
If you're still deciding who to cut, why wasn't Bree Hall even on the floor? She pressed. And if that jab wasn't sharp enough, the unspoken message rang even louder. This wasn't just about coaching strategy, it was about who gets grace, who's given a real shot, and who gets pushed aside before they've even had a chance. And if you thought Swoops would stop there, not a chance. She cranked the pressure higher, zeroing in on the two players who did benefit from White's rotation decisions, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. With pointed precision, Swoops didn't just question their roles, she dissected them. And the way she framed it? Let's just say the message echoed loud and clear across every corner of WNBA Twitter.
Ariafin, okay. This is gonna be a spicy season, cause Kiki was like, what, Sophie? Girl, don't come over here. Sophie was like,
already,
I was
game
here
one.
For it, here for it. But the fact that's a rookie, right?
I know,
Kiki,
she did not back down.
But she just turned and laughed. She was like, what? What did you say? What are we doing?
And then came the line that made her angle crystal clear. With heavy sarcasm, Swoops remarked that maybe it was time to start tuning up the other white girls on the Fever, now that she'd been told to lay off Clark. That wasn't subtle. That wasn't shade. That was a spotlight and a narrative bomb detonated right in the center of the conversation.
My goodness, I mean, we've had 2 preseason games. 2! And we're back to it. We're back here. She's criticizing Stephanie White. I bet Cheryl Swoops hates that last name. Criticizing Stephanie White. And, of course, it relates to Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham. Ooh, I bet Cheryl Swoops hates her some Sophie Cunningham. You know she does.
Let's not forget, this isn't Swoops' first anti-Clark rodeo. Long before Caitlin Clark ever suited up in a WNBA jersey, Swoops was already raising eyebrows. She was one of the earliest, loudest voices to question nearly every facet of Clark's game. The records? Overhyped. The style? Too flashy. The swagger? Not earned. The leadership? Dubious. The age? The attitude? The media attention? Swoops scrutinized it all. Practically everything short of Clark's shoe size. She made it clear from the jump that she wasn't buying the hype. And now that Clark isn't just a top draft pick, but the face of the Indiana Fever and a global fan favorite, Swoops hasn't exactly softened her stance. On the contrary, she's expanded the battlefield. It's no longer just about Clark. Swoops has shifted her focus to the entire perimeter, calling out the system that elevated Clark and questioning the structure that surrounds her. From coaching decisions to roster selections, she's aiming broader, louder, and sharper than ever before.
The last 4 games, she's trying to get it all in tonight.
And she leaves the floor to a standing ovation.
In an astonishing twist, Chennedy Carter has rapidly shifted from being one of the WNBA's most promising talents to an unrestricted free agent almost overnight. Celebrated for her dynamic scoring ability and exceptional footwork, Carter's sudden departure from the Chicago Sky has sent ripples throughout the league. How could such a gifted athlete find herself sidelined so abruptly? The answer lies in a series of controversial incidents that have propelled her career to a critical crossroads.
These two are going to have a battle tonight. The former Gamecocks has plumbed out herself.
For fans who have followed her journey closely, Carter's descent from grace is both shocking and heartbreaking. She was a player poised to lead her team to remarkable success. Yet now, her name is entangled in one of the league's most discussed controversies. From awe-inspiring performances to locker room drama, her story stands as a cautionary tale about the repercussions when immense talent meets personal turmoil. As we explore this saga further, it becomes evident that this situation transcends basketball. It highlights the evolving culture of the WNBA, the immense pressures of stardom, and the significant impact that public missteps can have. If you're fascinated and eager to dive deeper into this incredible story, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support enables us to continue bringing you the most engaging updates in women's basketball.
Which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Chennedy Carter.
The infamous push became a turning point that reverberated throughout the basketball community. During an intense game, emotions soared, and Chennedy Carter shoved Caitlin Clark in a manner that left everyone, fans, players, and officials, astounded. This wasn't just an ordinary on-court clash. It was deeply personal. The push wasn't a spur-of-the-moment reaction. It stemmed from escalating tensions that had been building for weeks. Caitlin Clark, the emerging star of women's basketball, stood there in disbelief as the crowd hushed. For Carter, this gesture was more than a momentary lapse of control. It was a career-altering mistake. While basketball thrives on passion and fervor, actions like these can cross a definitive line. In an era where every move is captured on camera, Carter's impulsive decision in such a high-profile situation ultimately doomed her relationship with the Chicago Sky.
Get myself together. I know that I'm a vital piece of this team, and I know that I need to be in shape. I need to be ready to go. I need to be mentally ready, physically ready. So all of those things were coming into play while I was sick, while I was out. There were still things that I was doing, basketball-oriented, so that when I come back, you guys are like, oh, it's kind of like she didn't miss a beat. Yeah, because you still have to work when you're sleeping and you're sick and things like that. So, yeah.
What made this incident particularly disastrous wasn't just the action itself. It was the choice of target. Caitlin Clark isn't merely any player. She's the WNBA's shining star, winning the hearts of countless fans and redefining the league's image. By targeting her, Chennedy Carter didn't simply make headlines. She transformed herself into a cautionary tale within the league.
Whenever I decide to go to the WNBA, I hope it's that same thing. I hope I can continue to grow the game. I hope we're playing in front of sold-out crowds. I hope more teams are added to the league. There's so many tremendous players that don't even get the opportunity to play in the league.
To fully understand the impact of Carter's push, it's essential to recognize Caitlin Clark's significance within the WNBA. She isn't just a player, she's a phenomenon, breaking records, filling stadiums, and attracting new fans. Clark represents the bright future of women's basketball. In 2024, her meteoric rise has captivated not only dedicated basketball enthusiasts, but also casual viewers who tune in to witness her mesmerizing performances on the court. Clark's influence extends beyond her impressive statistics. She embodies what the WNBA aspires to be, a league driven by star power, marketability, and substantial growth. Sponsors are eager to partner with her, fans idolize her, and every move she makes becomes headline news. Therefore, when Carter pushed Clark during that intense moment, it wasn't just poor optics, it was a critical blow to her burgeoning career.
Was trying to redirect a pass. Schenectady! Clark. And drains it! Because she's been Clark!
While the incident involving Caitlin Clark dominated headlines, insiders close to the team reveal that the real issues run much deeper. For months, the locker room has been fraught with tension, with Chennedy Carter at the epicenter of the discord. Teammates have spoken quietly about her attitude, creating an environment that felt more like a pressure cooker than a supportive team. In professional sports, teamwork and chemistry are paramount. When one player disrupts that delicate balance, the consequences can be severe. Carter's fiery personality, which can be an asset on the court, often clashed with the culture the Chicago Sky aimed to build. Reports of missed meetings and public disputes painted her as someone out of sync with her team. In today's WNBA, where reputation and branding are as important as performance, these internal conflicts couldn't be ignored. The Sky's decision to part ways with Carter wasn't just a reaction to a single controversial moment. It was the result of months of unresolved tension reaching a breaking point. In 2024, social media has become a pivotal platform for shaping public perception. When Carter and Angel Reese abruptly unfollowed each other on Instagram, fans immediately sensed something was wrong. This wasn't just immature behavior, it signaled a significant rift within the league. The timing couldn't have been worse for Carter, whose reputation was already under scrutiny. In an era where every social media post is analyzed like game footage, these subtle online actions sent a clear message. Things were not okay. Fans and analysts began to speculate about the source of the discord, with many pointing to the growing tensions between Carter and her teammates. For Carter, this social media drama only intensified her troubles. In a rapidly expanding league capturing more attention than ever, every action, both on and off the court, carries substantial weight. When your Instagram activity becomes part of the narrative, it's evident that the stakes have never been higher. The Chicago Sky's difficult decision to release Carter was not made lightly. She was their leading scorer, the kind of player who could turn a game around in an instant. Yet, despite her undeniable talent, the Sky sent a clear message. No player is bigger than the team. Their official statement was polished and even praised Carter's contributions throughout the season, but a closer examination revealed that the issue extended beyond basketball. References to fit and culture hinted at the underlying problems that ultimately led to her departure. By letting go of Carter, the Sky aimed to convey a powerful message to the rest of the league. Raw talent alone isn't enough. In the current WNBA, teams are focused not only on winning games, but also on building strong brands and fostering positive cultures for the future. For players like Carter, this means that the margin for error has become alarmingly narrow. The WNBA is on the verge of a remarkable era, with record viewership, billion-dollar media deals on the horizon, and sponsors eager to invest. However, growth brings increased scrutiny, and players are now expected to be both role models and athletes. For Carter, navigating this new landscape has been challenging. In a time when every action is under the microscope, her controversies have begun to overshadow her skills. The league's heightened focus on professionalism and marketability means players must embody more than just talent. They must represent the future of women's basketball. Carter's journey is a poignant reminder that in the modern WNBA, image is crucial. The league strives to build something greater than any single player, and those who can't adapt risk being left behind. Chennedy Carter's story is still unfolding, and the rapidly changing dynamics of the WNBA continue to raise the stakes for everyone involved. What are your thoughts on her release?